I want to share a cautionary tale with you. I was speaking to a mom recently who was struggling with her milk supply. She was pumping day and night, trying out different breast pumps, spending hundreds of dollars on the newest models or something that looked different or better, only to find that her output was not improving. All right? She was exhausted, frustrated, and ready to give up on breastfeeding altogether. We actually see this so often in our Facebook group and so often from comments on the YouTube channel. But here's the thing. The pump wasn't the problem, all right? If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but still struggling to get milk, you're not alone. Most moms think that buying the best breast pump will fix their supply issues, but it's just not true. So stop wasting money on pumps that are not going to fix the problem. Let me show you what actually does. By the end of this video, you're going to better understand exactly why buying a better breast pump doesn't increase your milk supply, and more importantly, what you can do to actually fix it. If you're new here, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm a certified lactation consultant and a breast pump expert. I've worked with thousands of moms over my career since I started as a nurse in 2009, helping them troubleshoot breastfeeding and pumping issues, and now I confidently help working moms breastfeed while they're returning to work, to use a breast pump fast and efficiently to meet their goals. All right, I've seen it all, from moms with premature babies in the NICU to those pumping for twins or struggling with low supply due to hormonal issues. And I can tell you 9 times out of 10, the breast pump is not the problem. All right, moms are often led to believe that if their supply drops, they need a better pump, or if it's not working, it's the breast pump. And it's just not true. Today, I'm going to show you why. So I think the big question is here, why do moms keep buying new pumps? It's not just about the milk, it's about how they feel in that moment. So tell me if any of these thoughts or feelings resonate with you. You feel frustrated. You've been pumping constantly, but your milk output isn't increasing, or sometimes it's even getting worse, all right? You might think, I'm doing everything right. Why am I not getting more milk? You're anxious. Fear creeps in when supply drops. This is normal. You're terrified that you won't be able to make enough milk for your baby. You might think, my supply is dropping. What if I can't make enough? You feel desperate. You feel like you need to fix it now before your supply is gone for good. You might be saying, I can't afford to lose my supply. I'll try anything, or even spend any amount. You feel pressure. You've seen other moms on social media with overflowing freezer stashes and full bottles after a pumping session, and you feel like you should be able to produce more. Sometimes your partner or family is even saying, why aren't you making more? And you might be telling yourself, everyone else seems to have no problem with this. Why can't I figure it out? You feel confused. You've read all the blogs, watched all the videos, followed all the advice, but nothing is working. You might be thinking to yourself, am I not pumping enough? Or is it too long? Or do I need more suction? These are common thoughts in this stage. 6, you feel helpless. You've already tried switching pumps or changing settings, but it hasn't worked. You're questioning your ability to breastfeed altogether. Maybe you're thinking, maybe I'm just not capable of breastfeeding. Or you're hoping for a quick fix. And this is a big one. Buying a new pump feels like the easiest solution, okay? It's fast. It feels like action. And let's be honest, when you're exhausted and emotionally drained, it's easier to throw money at a problem than to troubleshoot the deeper issues. You might be thinking, if I just buy a better pump, this will all get better, all right? Moms want to feel like they're doing something, and buying a new pump kind of gives you that quick hit of relief. But when the new pump doesn't work, you spiral into more frustration and self-doubt. So here's the fact. Breast pumps don't create milk, all right? Pumps remove milk from the breast, but they don't increase your supply. Your milk supply is based on demand and removal, all right? If milk isn't being removed effectively, your body will stop producing it. It's like a factory, and if the product isn't being bought, production slows down. Does that make sense? The same is true for breast milk. If your body senses that milk isn't being removed regularly or completely, it will adjust the production downward. It probably wants to use energy for other life-sustaining tasks, right? But instead of figuring out why the milk isn't being removed efficiently, most moms blame the breast pump. They think maybe if I buy a more expensive pump, it'll work better. Or if I get a hospital-grade pump, that will suck the milk out stronger and faster. But that's not how milk supply or pumping works. So let me give you a real life example, and then we'll talk about ways to fix supply to increase your production to do better without buying a new pump. All right. Let me give you a real life example. I had a client named Laura who was convinced that her pump wasn't working because her milk supply had dropped. She had already gone back to work and was just kind of seeing the milk supply go down and down, which is so common for working moms and is a huge red flag for me that something about the pumping process is not working correctly. So she had already bought 3 different pumps. She had tried the Spectra. She had even rented a Medela Symphony, like a hospital style pump, and then also had a wearable LV, but her output was actually getting worse with each one. All right. She joined my coaching program, and after only 3 days of working with us, we discovered that the problem was not the pump, which I suspected from the beginning because it almost never is. It was her flange size and the fact that she was not getting more than 1 letdown every pumping session. Okay, Laura's flange size was too big, so the pump wasn't able to create the right kind of suction to remove milk efficiently. All 3 of those pumps had great suction. They're high quality, they work well. She just wasn't using them correctly for her, right? And because her breasts weren't emptying completely, her body started producing less milk, which was then causing breastfeeding problems when she was home with her baby on the evenings and weekends because supply was dropping because of what was happening with pumping. And I see this so often. So once we corrected her flange size and worked through triggering multiple letdowns in a session, she had a hard cutoff of 30 minutes at work to pump too. So we had to be able to trigger multiple letdowns and still give her time to like pack up and clean her stuff within 30 minutes. All right. Once we were able to do that, and adjusting her flange size really helped as well. And then working on those letdowns, her supply increased by almost 4 ounces per day, like within a week. And that's not a milk supply change. That's like a milk is there, we're just not getting it out kind of thing. Her output continued to go up steadily from there as we worked on kind of fine tuning more of the things that go into pumping and making that work. It was not the pump. She had good pumps. It was the technique. And that's the mistake so many moms are making. They're investing in better pumps, in hospital pumps, in higher quality suction or whatever, instead of fixing the root cause. Here's the truth. A $400 pump isn't going to work better than a $40 pump if your flange size is wrong. A hospital grade pump isn't going to magically increase your supply if you're not pumping frequently enough. A wearable pump isn't going to fix the issue if you're not getting multiple letdowns. All right, these are just a few examples of ideas that I think moms have in their head, like I just need this and this is going to happen. Let's talk about what should you do instead, right? If it's not buying a new pump, how do we get more predictable pumping output and protect our supply with pumping instead of letting it control you and take over your life? Number 1, getting a good flange size is absolutely critical. Okay, this helps with providing the right kind of stimulation to the nipple to continue the supply and demand cycle, but it also helps with more efficient and effective pumping. You can pump more comfortably with more output and faster when your flange fits well. If your flange is too large, your nipples won't be pulled into the tunnel correctly, reducing suction and milk removal. If your flange size is too small, it can cause pain and reduce milk flow, so we don't want either of those. Most moms don't realize that flange sizing isn't a one-size-fits-all. It can even change throughout your pumping journey, which we actually see a lot because we work with our clients long term. So we get to kind of see them throughout the process. All right. That's a really important piece. And there's not really a formula that says measure this, add 3 millimeters, and you're good to go. It really depends on what the nipple is doing under suction, the overall shape, the base size, what you've tried before, how much swelling is present, all of these things. But having a good flange size will make a really big difference for you. Second, you need to learn how to trigger multiple letdowns. All right, most moms stop pumping after the first letdown, and that's a big mistake. After the milk flow slows down, keep pumping for 2 to 3 minutes. Try and trigger a second letdown. You can go back and forth in between your expression and stimulation settings. Some moms even get a 3rd and 4th letdown, which leads to higher output. If you're only pumping through 1 letdown, you're leaving 20 to 50% of your milk in the breast. That is not good. Okay, not good. You have multiple letdowns while you're breastfeeding, but your baby's controlling them and you don't feel them. It's so much more intentional when we are using a breast pump. Hands-on pumping, breast massage, again, optimizing those settings, doing a lot of the mental work that comes with letdowns. Those are some ideas to kind of help trigger more. We have some more videos on that as well. There are lots of pumping techniques you can try until you kind of figure out what works best for you in getting the most effective output in the least amount of time. That's kind of the goal. 3, you need to be doing interactive pumping. All right. Pumping is not as easy as plug and play. It requires some intentionality. This is a side note, but this is one of the reasons that wearable pumps are less efficient, because it's just the way that you use it. You are doing it with less intention. You're usually multitasking, your hands are free, and it's one of the big reasons that wearables are less efficient. A lot of other things. We'll do another video on wearable pumps. Actually, I think we already have. But when a mother is feeding at the breast, when you're breastfeeding, you're not usually multitasking, all right? You're not lacking attention. You're sitting and feeding. You're watching the baby. You're reacting to their cues. They're coming on, they're coming off. You're adjusting. Are they done? Do they need a burp? Do you want more? They're kind of telling you you're in this partnership with them. With a pump, you need to do the same thing, but you're at a disadvantage because the thing that's removing milk isn't helping you unless you tell it to. With a baby, they will continue to take what they need. They can adjust in real time. And if they want another letdown, they'll make it happen. If they're full, they'll stop. They stimulate the breast to promote production and empty the breast. And then they also adjust the supply as needed. So they're doing a lot more work than you think. With the pump, you're in charge. All right. You have to trigger multiple letdowns. You have to make sure the right amount of milk is being removed, and you have to make adjustments as needed. So it should be an interactive session where you're paying attention, adjusting what needs adjusted, and ensuring that you protect your supply in a way that aligns with your goals. 4th is pumping frequency. All right. Consistency is key. Milk supply works on supply and demand. So if you're not pumping frequently enough, your body will think the milk is not needed and it will start sending less. For a lot of moms, pumping every 3 hours during the day and at least once at night is a good place to start, and then adjusting from there. If you're earlier in your postpartum experience, you'll likely be expressing milk more often than that at night. And I know I say pumping that many, every 3 hours, but you can also substitute some of those for feedings at the breast as well. It gets more complicated when you combine them together, but that's kind of what I specialize in. And so that's kind of a fun area for me. But sometimes every 3 hours is not often enough based on your milk supply and your storage capacity and what's happening. Sometimes it's too often. All right. And I'll put another video below that we did recently talking more about pumping frequency, kind of figuring out a good rhythm for you. But nothing can replace frequent milk removal. Okay. Consistency is key. And number 5, addressing mental and emotional blocks and barriers. All right. Pumping is an art. I've said it before, and I'm sure I'll say it again. There are many logistic things that need to be in place for it to work well, but there are also many mental and emotional blocks that can make it feel like you're pushing a rock up a hill. All right. One good example of this is if you're struggling to get multiple letdowns. And there's a reason I've mentioned that 2 separate times in this video is because it's a huge problem and one of the biggest mistakes I see pumping moms make. All right. You need oxytocin to flow, to contract the glands holding the milk and send the milk down and out. It is so easy to get in your own way of oxytocin flow. Okay. Especially if you're feeling stressed, anxious, rushed, sad, worried, cold, or unfocused. And tell me a new mother, especially a working mother, who doesn't feel almost all of these things on a daily basis. All right. You need to take a hard and honest look at your pumping sessions, what's happening before, during, and after, and then see what other non-logistic things are working against you. I know that might feel fluffy or, vague, but it's a huge part of making sure that the pump is working effectively. Now, if you've done all of these things and you're still not getting results, it might actually be the pump. Okay, so here are the red flags that the pump itself might be the issue. If you have weak or inconsistent suction, all right? If milk stops flowing prematurely, again, might be a pumping problem, but sometimes a pump problem. Pain during pumping, even with the right flange size. Okay, so you gotta be sure that you're using the right size. You're still having pain even on lower settings, it might not be a good pump for you. If you're getting no letdown or delayed letdown, all right, again, might be a pump, but more likely a pumping problem. But sometimes the pump is just not good for you. The speed or the stimulation style or the pattern just is not jiving with how you best respond to a pump. So maybe trying a different one in that case would help. But I would always start with other techniques for letdown stuff first. If the sound or feeling of the pump gives you anxiety, and sometimes we see this with vibration style pumps or pumps that have like a lot going on. If it's just a lot and you hate it or it causes this like triggering feeling in you, maybe not the best one for you. If you're hearing strange noises or rattling sounds, people send those to me a lot and they are crazy. If you're hearing something that you know is not normal, maybe you need to get a different pump. If you're having leaking at any point in the flange system or around the pump, if you're having poor output despite proper technique, then sometimes we do switch to a pump. But I can almost guarantee that there are a lot of things we can try before we switch out the pump. It's not very often that a client comes to work with me and I'm like, oh, let's try a different pump. There's like 3 or 4 pumps that I'm like, that's not going to be a good one. Let's get a different one. And it's just because they are so bad. I'll tell you one right off the bat, since if you're still watching this video, you're awesome. And here's a bonus for you. One of those pumps for me is the Mom Cozy M5. I hate it. Hate it. It has this bizarre suction. It's like a snapback pushing kind of feeling. It is known for tanking supplies. Not only that's a wearable pump. If you're only using a wearable pump and struggling with supply, that get a better a more traditional pump and figure out your problems on that instead of a wearable pump. But that one in particular, the Mom Cozy M5, I hate it. That is one that if you have that and you come to me, I'm gonna be like, we need a different pump because I almost can't even troubleshoot things with you if you're using that pump. Okay, soapbox on that one. Sorry about that. Or if you may need a new pump, if your pump is just really old or overused, if it's from a previous pregnancy or something like that, maybe we try a new pump. There are a couple things though I would try in regards to the pump before just replacing it. So one would be to replace all the tubings and valves and all of the things that come with that. We actually have a freebie guideline that I'll put in the description for you on giving you the timing and like where to find the parts and which parts need to be replaced on what frequency. I'll put that in the description for you. I would also double check the flange size, make sure that fits right. Like I said, it can be the best breast pump in the world, but if it doesn't fit at the point where it touches your breast, it's not going to work well. So always something I would check before replacing the pump too. You can also try adjusting suction and setting speeds. Again, most of you are kind of doing that intuitively, especially if you think your pump might be the problem. But I would mess around there a little bit and just kind of make sure, see what's going on. Make sure all the parts are aligned and assembled properly. This happens sometimes. I remember I had a mom, one of my clients, she was like, oh my gosh, my pump stopped working. Like I can't get anything out. The suction's not there. Oh, everything looks fine. Did some troubleshooting with her. We ended up taking it apart and she had forgotten the duckbill valve that goes on to close the suction loop. So it just was a missing part. She put it back on, it was fine, right? And this kind of stuff happens, especially when you're tired. You've been doing this a long time. And then sometimes I would also test the pump on a different power source. So depending on where you have it plugged in, trying a different area, or making sure it's fully charged. You know, if you have a Bluetooth enabled pump, making sure that it's updated, things like that. So I'll say it again, and probably not for the last time. Pumping is an art. Throwing money at a new pump might seem like the easiest and fastest solution to a pumping or milk supply problem, but there's a high chance that it will not fix your issue. There are many other videos on this channel to help you troubleshoot pumping problems if you're still in DIY mode, but if you're ready to get some personalized and streamlined help in making pumping easy and predictable while also navigating a career, that's exactly what we specialize in. There's an application down below to apply to join our long-term coaching program. I hope this video saves you some money. I hope that you can stop buying breast pumps, especially if you're in this mode of trying to fix a problem and thinking a new pump is going to help you. Just stop, right? Get some help. Okay. Again, I'll put some more resources down below to help you, but I wish you the best of luck. Happy pumping.